Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good long weekend. We have a great presentation for you today. We're really excited to be representing Nextivity in Canada. And I'm going to leave it to my colleague Charlie to do an introduction to Paul and to Nextivity. Just a few housekeeping notes. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please submit them through the GoToWebinar console. You can just type them in the chat. And I'll try to ask them throughout the presentation because all the attendees are going to be on mute. We are recording the presentation, so afterwards we will send out a link to a video, and I'll also send out a note saying if you'd like a copy of the PDF, just respond. So that's it for me. Over to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Alliance and our core partner, Nextivity, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar entitled Carrier-Proof Cellular Signal Boosting. My name is Charlie Scholes, and I'm the Director of In-Building and DAS Solutions for Alliance. As many of you know, Alliance is Canada's leading wireless distributor, with our core focus being on cellular infrastructure, broadband, and distributed antenna systems, also known as DAS. We've been working with our friends at Nextivity in the U.S. for almost a year and a half, and we've brought cellular connectivity to hundreds of clients. Nextivity has an amazing value proposition, bringing a carrier-approved off-air cellular solution that deploys with category cable into venues of up to 350,000 square feet and more. As a result of the efforts of Nextivity's Paul Rigatti, who, by the way, is today's speaker, we're pleased to be able to bring the full Nextivity portfolio, including the multi-carrier QUATRA 2000 enterprise-grade solution, to the Canadian market. Paul Rigatti, Nextivity's Technical Sales Director for Canada, who also happens to be from Canada, has been in the telecom industry for over 20 years, primarily working in California's Telecom Valley in the San Diego area. He started with Qualcomm, deploying cellular infrastructure in over 20 countries, and after stops with Ericsson and then later Broadcom, working on cellular chipsets for mobile phones, he began his career with Nextivity. Being with the Nextivity for over 11 years, developing smart signal solutions and holding hardware and software test positions, he's now in a customer-facing role evangelizing CelFi globally to the carriers, with the past 8 years being focused on developing relationships and the technology needed to support both the Canadian and the U.S. market. He's now with us today. He is responsible for developing the Canadian market. And I'm going to hand the conversation over to him now to share with you the excitement of CelFi by Nextivity. Paul, all yours.
Hey, fantastic. Thank you, Charlie, for the warm welcome. And thank you to Alliance Corporation for being partners of Nextivity and hosting this webinar today. My name is Paul Rigatti. I am an expat Canadian living here in San Diego, California. And it is my privilege to be working with you and to welcome our audience to our webinar. Welcome to those that are familiar with our CelFi product line, and a special welcome to those that are looking to learn more about the innovative CelFi products presented today. My main goal is to advance you and introduce our innovative products that are available for the Canadian market. I'll explain who is CelFi, how we're different compared to legacy and incumbent solutions, and educate on what puts CelFi in a league of its own. I'll offer a portfolio overview. I'll talk about our secret sauce, and I'll explain the access to design tools available, and then finish with some use cases from the Canadian market. Okay, next slide. Who is CelFi by Nextivity? So CelFi is the brand and Nextivity is the company. Nextivity is an innovation company with its R&D and headquarters here in California. Nextivity has sales offices throughout the continents with an effort to work with the operators and its sales partners. Remember, Nextivity is an R&D company that was conceived with the cellular operators in mind. Cellular boosting is really our expertise. Our company's commitment to innovation and design has allowed us to forge these relationships with over 200 cellular operators in over 100 countries. We are an award-winning company that develops purely cutting-edge features for cellular signal boosting and DAS, distributed antenna systems. You can see our complete list of awards on our website, and the URL is shown there at celfi.com/awards. There's over 35 of them. Next slide. So here's a small sampling of some of our operator customers. The operators here include 16 of the top 20 operators by subscribers, and I've included Canada here. These relationships were created by CelFi by quote unquote entering the front door, so to speak. You know, our sales and our engineering team work with the operators to engage them in their requirements. We offer to send bodies to their lab to test the product alongside their engineers and continue an active rapport that includes an ongoing open dialogue and receptiveness to their needs, including to listening to their feature requests that influence ultimately the evolution of our product roadmap. You know, we answer their questions, and we also work with them in the unlikely events that there is a perceived impact of CelFi on an operator's network. You know, working with the operators is our company creed, and you know, it has afforded us to be this trusted brand. We're not a solution that is just pitched and made available without an ongoing rapport with the operators. So these days, the operators are very much interested in what solutions are placed on their network. And while there are afforded means of putting product on networks without getting permission, so to speak, we've continually practiced our model, and that is work with the operators from day one, and essentially even before a first product is ever placed onto their network. So next slide. Poor cellular coverage is a fact of life today. Yes, it is. Physics is real. With this growing dependence on wireless connectivity indoors, but not just indoors, there's this growing need for solutions that are, you know, regarded as not just effective, but network safe. Remember that term, network safe. And also that they perform well and they're ultimately cost effective. So enter CelFi into the Canadian market. So in Canada, Rogers and Videotron have really endorsed our products for their network safe operations and performance, and have provided their acceptance on paper, pushing our products, approving our products, namely the CelFi Pro, Go, and Quatra. Bell and Telus know CelFi very well. You know, they still maintain a focus on picocell solutions and don't deviate from their first choice of solution, and we respect that. But there's been an ultimate acceptance at the integrator level that work alongside Bell and Telus projects that have approved CelFi and are largely made very, very comfortable by our testament to a network safe product in CelFi. And ultimately their belief in our motto of, quote, do no harm to the operator's network. Designing a product with network safety in mind is the ultimate genesis of our company, and it's imprinted in our fabric, and all the while delivering paramount performance. And I'll describe more of that in this next slide. So next slide. So here are our building blocks. They're based on our main missions of performance, network safety, cost effectiveness, and ease of use. So I'll make it clear that we are a technology company that has sought out redesigning signal boosters and DAS from the ground up. We've designed our own portfolio of IP along with our own silicon chipset. We've already delivered on 3 generations of a custom chipset that's in every product that we sell, and we're now working on our 4th generation. This custom chipset inside every product comes with 27 patents that allows us to deliver carrier-specific channelized boosting. So what does this mean? Only the operator's licensed spectrum is being boosted. We are not a wideband solution. You know, carrier-specific boosting has allowed us to create an entirely brand new class of signal boosters, and it's called the carrier-specific boosters. It's defined by the FCC and also ISED in Canada. The rules in the US are called FCC Part 20, and they've been adopted, and the same rules have been used by ISED in Canada. So what is this? This class of carrier-specific boosting comes with advantages, but the single biggest advantage that we're able to leverage is that CelFi products are allowed to offer 100 decibels of gain. Remember this, folks. That's 100 decibels of boost or amplification, where the competition in the same class are capped at only 70 decibels of gain, and even less in the lower frequency band. So our product applies up to 1,000 times more amplification than the competition. And we're the only ones that do this in this class and for this price point. So this we deliver by our own homegrown custom chipset that we call the CelFi IntelliBoost. So a little bit more on network safety. So what does this really mean? And it's a huge selling point to the operator. So in layman's terms, you don't want to invest in a solution that gets the operator's attention because it's causing interference on their network. Maybe it's interfering with their towers. They'll know. You know, alarms on a network get generated the instant a product misbehaves. CelFi will never misbehave. It's in our DNA to ensure that operators' networks are never impacted. It's our secret sauce, and again, it's our core design. CelFi operates very much like a mobile handset. So as a mobile handset, it can decode the operator's network. It listens to the network. It gains knowledge from the signal information. It accurately determines its proximity where it's installed to the closest tower, and it adjusts its power based on that. So no other solution provides this level of commitment. CelFi can do it at 2,000 times per second. So we stress our commitment to network safety, and this is the very reason we've developed and continually foster our relationships with cellular operators in Canada and throughout the globe. So think 3G, PP, UMTS, LTE. That is the core for which we design our products to. So what else? Well, it's important that today's products are all connected in some form or fashion. Not all products are connected. Most aren't. So we've developed means to communicate with the installed products on site. So whether you're a savvy user or a do-it-yourselfer or an installer, an RF engineer, or whether you work for the operator and you want to get under the hood of a CelFi or even know where it is in the network via a map that displays waypoints, we've developed a smartphone app and also a sophisticated IoT portal, and we named it CelFi Wave. And it offers this fully inclusive set of features to support CelFi, and ultimately it's evolution with periodic software updates. We're constantly developing new features, and we're constantly evolving this product to best adapt and best fit the market. So next slide.
Hey, Paul?
Yes.
Is it safe to say, just to, I guess, to recap that, because there's a lot of information on that slide, is it safe to say that one of the core differentiators between the Nextivity products and your traditional off-the-shelf booster is that rather than acting like a broadband booster that puts noise on the signal, that the Nextivity product actually acts more like a cell phone handset, and it's the carriers and the tower sees it as a handset rather than a noise source?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and this is what I'm going to get into in this slide here. So think current legacy solutions. They're not aware. So conceivably, you could take an existing legacy solution powered on, and it's going to take in whatever it sees. If it happens to see interference or noise or whatever signal is present there, it doesn't discern. Is this a Rogers signal? Is this a telesignal? Does this telesignal meet the minimum requirements of even being allowed to boost? And you don't necessarily want to boost just anything, like the whole, the saying, garbage in, garbage out. So with CelFi, like you mentioned, we use the terminology, it's like a handset. Yes, so it will discern the network. It will pay attention to what it's doing. Like your phone adjusts, if the network adjusts, your phone adjusts. The network does a spectrum swap, your phone adjusts. CelFi will adjust. CelFi is very much in control, like a handset. So yes, the network can ultimately see this product transparently, but this product is sitting out there very much like a controlled element, like a cell phone does as well. And that obviates the need for maintenance. It obviates the need for technical acumen to set this up and make sure that it operates properly, or if the network changes, there's no truck roll, there's no adherence, there's no administration needed. So it's very much what I described it as, a very innovative feature that is very much different than all of the rest. So in this slide, it's important that I stress the difference between competing legacy BDA signal boosters versus a CelFi solution. BDA is a legacy name for a lot of the existing products out there, bidirectional amplifiers. So this illustration shows how a wideband BDA will boost the entire spectrum. And as a result, not all the signals are boosted equally, and some very poorly. In fact, one or more of the operators will not necessarily get the amount of amplification at all. And this is very typical of a wideband solution. So, I mean, even worse with legacy solutions, if a non-intended operator that is really, really strong exists, say one that you don't really need to boost, but say that the tower is close by, well, that also creates problems with legacy solutions. Installers have to find savvy ways to circumvent this challenge, and it's not always easy or possible. You don't have this problem with the CelFi. The CelFi end product gives a better user experience because more performance is offered, and better performance equates to a larger coverage footprint and a highly competitive price per square foot. And all this is done with a safe product that delivers, again, more boost, but is still capable of doing it while maintaining stability, robustness, and ultimately reliability. So next slide. So let's get started with our product lineup, and let's start from the smallest and go up. So the first is for smaller spaces. This is the Cel-Fi Pro, and it fits into the up to 15,000 square feet. So a veteran in the cellular booster space and the world's only fully wireless and plug-and-play solution to boost cellular signal. It's completely wireless. It's comprised of 2 units, and these 2 units just take power. The network unit and the coverage unit. Easy to install. It eliminates the need for wiring. So think wiring, think truck roll, think technical acumen required to offer your end customer a gap filler, a spot filler, a quick and easy solution, something that is intended to not require anything more than following a quick start guide. So on the next slide, you'll see our quick start guide here to step 1, 2, and 3. And take the space at the bottom as an example. This space has a large cellular dead zone, but some signal exists at the window where everybody runs to make a call. We all know about that location. Maybe it's on an upstairs level, a front window. You place the network unit there, and then you walk over and then you place the coverage unit somewhere where inside the dead zone where you need improvement. Maybe it's where there's point of sale machines, maybe there's a backup LTE router, perhaps there's a working area there in a back room that just doesn't have cellular connectivity. Dead zones are common. They're not unheard of. So as you see here in this part 2 of 2, the network unit and coverage unit find each other, establish a wireless link, signals taken from point A, delivered to point B, all wirelessly, you're done. So this, we like to call it a setup, not an installation, easy. So this CelFi Pro is available for all operators in Canada. They are operator specific, and there's a smartphone app that you can engage the system with your phone, and it can be changed from a Rogers system, a Telus system, a Bell system, a Videotron, SaskTel, Eastlink, you name it. So this is the CelFi Pro, and it's available in Canada. It's been available in Canada for going on, I would say probably 5 years now. So next slide. So introducing the CelFi Go for areas also up to 15,000 square feet, but above. It has all the benefits described as the CelFi Pro. Again, remember, it has 100 decibels of gain. Ask that question of other solutions, how much gain is afforded. 100 decibels of gain is very imperative. So it's designed to work in stationary locations and has a mobility mode to work in nomadic installations where when necessary, like fleet truck and marine use. So next slide. So imagine the Go addressing cellular coverage needs in an environment where a more robust solution is required. Think a more hardened solution for maybe a parking structure, a factory, an outdoor environment, a solar farm. These are our use cases that are on top of mind. Places where somewhere where maybe multiple inside antennas are needed. This solution goes head to head with other cabled solution. Again, you get more amplification, and with CelFi Go here, it's proven to deliver more coverage and performance than its competitor. Next slide. So CelFi Go M, on the road and on board. The M stands for mobile. So think vertical fleet of transport, something requiring cellular boosting. The vertical of mobility is a very strong vertical. With the ever-growing requirement to have in-cabin cellular signals, the Go M has proven to be effective. For the most part, the strong, capable amplification of the Go will effectively offer a larger radius for your fleet vehicles and marine use, anything in moving environments. And as a recap here, the Go is really competitively priced, and its performance against the competition is very, very impressive. So next slide here. So introducing the CelFi QUATRA for the middle prize. This is our entry. This has been our entry into the middle prize, and we'll explain to that in a second. But this is our active DAS hybrid solution. Okay, so what does QUATRA do? Well, QUATRA solves spotty cellular coverage, poor voice quality, you name it. All the customer complaints, drop calls, dead zones. The QUATRA is a high quality cellular signal provider throughout a building, and it's scalable to the size needed. So ultimately the middle prize is the space where the larger incumbent go-to existing reliable big iron DAS solutions that I like to refer to them as have been the incumbent and are the go-to solutions. But with the middle prize, and that's 25,000 square feet to 250,000, even above, this is the space where the enterprise have been tasked to fund their own solution. So the ultimate question is, what is the price per square foot for a solution? And this is where QUATRA has emerged. And even unlike older analog boosters and passive technology that tried to tackle this space, QUATRA is a very effective solution, very competitive price per square foot. QUATRA leverages Cat5e cabling for RF and power over Ethernet. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but with no signal attenuation right to the perimeter because of this usage of delivering signal over Cat5e. Power over Ethernet. We're going to talk about that in the next slide too. So here are the components of a QUATRA. Okay, so power over Ethernet to each of the coverage units. These coverage units look like Wi-Fi access points. They're sprinkled in the premises, just like Wi-Fi access points. They're very discreet. They're fully integrated. They have embedded antennas. No need for external power like other solutions. QUATRA can be installed in just days, compared to multiple of days or maybe even months typical of other solutions, and at a very good price point. So seen here are the QUATRA components. There's network units, sometimes referred to as head ends, and coverage units, sometimes referred to as remote radio units. So this is the QUATRA solution. So to reiterate, next slide. Our strong point is that the QUATRA solution is very different than other cellular DAS solutions, where QUATRA passes the amplified signal over regular Category 5 cabling. You know, the 4 steps here outlined are to install a QUATRA can really be accomplished much quicker than legacy solutions, and a much quicker model results in less acumen, less of a ramp, shorter installation times, and a more revenue generated in a solution that is whereby less money is spent in installing and commissioning and training personnel for the product. So next slide. So here's what an install looks like at a high level. There's a donor source shown on the left that feeds the QUATRA with cellular signal. In this illustration is an off-air antenna, which it takes the signal from the macro network. It can very well be a picocell. Then the network unit is connected to coverage units. You want to cover more area, you install more network units and coverage units. There's 4 coverage units per network unit. There's also this option for an installer to use the existing unused Ethernet that's already present in the premises. Oftentimes existing buildings have additional Ethernet runs that could be used. Just remember that these Ethernet links are direct connections, and they can't go through any live equipment like switches or routers. This is a very, very well received product. It's been in the market for over 2 years now. It's carrier specific. It's advanced with its RF over Ethernet, and it's really, really competitive against existing solutions, but really in the space that doesn't really have a reliable, cost-effective solution that can bring the price down to the order of tens of cents per square foot, whereby legacy big iron DAS solutions, which we don't try to displace or disparage, they work well, but in the middle price space, they can be in the order of dollars per square foot. So it's definitely a solution that we want to get out there and that we want to continue to evangelize. So
Paul, is it safe to say from what you've described here with this picture that on the donor side, that kind of looks like you're a traditional DAS for the BDA? I mean, you've got an outside antenna and coax and everything you would have running from the donor antenna into the network unit. But from the network unit out to the coverage units, it really deploys more like, and I don't want to oversimplify, but it deploys more like a Wi-Fi network than a traditional DAS. Yes,
that's true. With existing solutions, passive DAS, they often use half-inch heliacs or cabling. None of that stuff prevails with our solution, with the exception on the donor side. So the donor side, that stuff stays the same, with a minor exception whereby our QUATRA supports MIMO. For many of you that understand MIMO, it's hard pressed to find any solution that will preserve the MIMO technology in a signal boosting solution, a DAS. So, but yes, Charlie, on the left-hand side, there's a directional antenna, and the only coax that exists is from the directional antenna to the network unit. And that run does not have to be long. We often encourage our installers to keep that run as short as possible and take advantage of these long Ethernet runs. The signal that passes through that Ethernet is virtually lossless, and it can handle up to 200 meters of distance without losing a single dB. With traditional systems, you're working with, you know, a budget, RF budget calculators, cable loss calculations, you know, couplers, splitters. With the CelFi QUATRA, all of that is obviated with this cellular distribution over a standard Category 5E cabling.
So this is really gonna help your installation costs, not only because of reduced material, but especially for an existing building. This is really going to reduce your labor costs, because as you mentioned, running category cable through ceilings and cramped spaces is a lot easier than wielding half-inch coax and installing all the passives. So this is really an exciting aspect of the product, which reduces the installation time and it makes it easier for the end customer to get cellular coverage.
That's right.
Sorry to interrupt. I do have a question someone's asked. Is it possible to adjust transmit power level of the CUs to limit coverage in some specific requested areas? Yeah,
so ultimately it's not a typical question that's been asked, because ultimately the question is how do you increase the coverage? But there's means of doing that, and one solution that would come to mind would be for a coverage unit. There's an output port on the back of these coverage units, and whereby you normally would deliver the signal from this internal antenna. So these systems lay clean and seamless. You could pipe the Ethernet signal, the RF signal, out of the back of the coverage unit through potentially an attenuator and a localized antenna there. So for the cost of an attenuator pad and a small antenna, you could control that attenuation for that specific coverage unit without impacting the rest of the system. So that's how I would recommend you try doing it off the bat.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you. So next slide. So it's important to know that we offer everything that you'll need for a full turnkey install. So we offer a bill of material estimator tool that salespeople love. It helps in defining how much equipment is used for specific premises and takes input like square footage, building construction, type of donor signal. IB-Wave VEX files. We are continually evolving our IB-Wave VEX files. IB-Wave is a simulation tool for cellular LTE, and the VEX files are files that are inputs into the tool. So we offer the VEX files, and we also offer IB-Wave training and design review. It's not always used, but users that are very familiar with this tool, we offer the training and the one-on-one support to make that ramp very seamless, to incorporate CelFi into your toolbox. To also help with the installation, this is very important. Offered in the product is what we call the antenna pointing tool. You have a donor antenna. Our tool takes in the signal and measures it very much like a phone can, and very accurately helps you eliminate the need for guessing or lugging around expensive network analyzers. Network analyzers were traditionally used to measure signal down to the specifics and and ultimately point the antenna at the horizon at a specific location. We have built in to our products, not just the Quatra, but to the Go and even the Pro, if an external antenna was used, we have the means of intelligently pointing and aiming the antenna that maximizes the use. So the takeaway here is that that there's the technical acumen to become a CelFi QUATRA lead partner of Alliance and Nextivity isn't an onerous one, as it may have been for past solutions. Next slide. So not to mention, you get this CelFi Wave platform. It's a cloud-based remote management platform. Remember that, it's a cloud-based and it's remote management. And this is an innovative built on Microsoft Azure platform that allows users to manage multiple systems. There's constantly a request, what is my system doing? How do I manage it? Where is it? What's it doing? Imagine being able to monitor your Quatra, shown here by a single dashboard, getting emails and text messages when there are alarms or alerts, and being able to use the portal to offer a managed service, perhaps for maintenance. Think about a source of recurring revenue where you can provide maintenance and have eyes on the system available and understand what the system's doing and be told if it needs any type of requirement. Or you can pass this monitoring feature along to your end customer and have them have their own exclusive login to the portal where they can monitor their own system. Think of this as an included feature, perhaps, maybe to close the deal. So this CelFi Wave IoT portal is very important, has been very successful in allowing us to evangelize our product as an innovative solution in the cellular signal boosting and gas space. Oh, and by the way, we have accessories from donor antennas for all your use cases, to mounting accessories, to all necessary adapters. CelFi and Alliance have you covered. Next slide. So CelFi use cases. Let's finish up with some Canadian use cases. The first one here is a use case in the oil and gas field. So this was a use case that had an incumbent. So these are oil and gas sites that have remote locations, some very, very remote. And there was an incumbent provider that was the go-to solution for these remote sites, providing amplified signal to the kiosk or to the location of which the equipment resided. Sometimes this signal booster was directly connected to an LTE modem. So there was an incumbent solution provided here. So CelFi was able to go in, and after a deep dive and on-site demo, we're able to demonstrate firsthand that it could beat the incumbent solution. And this was for a hardware RFP. And the incumbent solutions wasn't perfect. There was complaints that were resolved by our product, and I bulleted two of them. One of them was uplink ratchet exhaustion. So in layman's terms is you can improve the signal on the phones, on the downlink, but if you don't have enough gain on the uplink, when you hit send on that phone, when you hit connect on that modem, when that sensor requires an LTE signal and tries to connect to the network, it's handshaking with the network. It's trying to overcome the distance to the closest tower. And remember earlier in the slides that 100 decibels of gain, that is where the 100 decibels of gains really matters, where the rubber meets the road. You need as much amplification in the uplink as possible to bridge the gap between these remote locations that are often on cell edges to the tower. So that was one of the key selling points. Another of the key selling points was this CelFi Go supports a 24-volt DC input. Legacy solutions take 12 volts, and they had to use DC inverters that were constantly blowing up. So these cabinets were able to use the native 24 volts and connect it to the Go, and we were able to do a rip and replace of the existing legacy solution. And by the way, the availability of Go and a remote management option was also able it was key to winning this solution and became one of our popular use cases for the CelFi Go. A second
Paul,
one.
Just a quick question, Paul. So were the remote units enclosed or were they outside?
In this case, the CelFi Go was designed to be enclosed within the facility, but it's worth noting that these CelFi Go's have a IP67 NEMA 4 rating, so they are hardened. They can be placed outside in the elements. So there's flexibility to place these where there's dust and ultimately a requirement to put it outside where there's no environmental enclosure. The CelFi Go can be placed outside as well.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. So this second use case is worth mentioning. There was a 6-story facility, happened to be a seniors community center. And the takeaway here is that there was an existing passive DAS supplier that delivered a design to an integrator. At some point in time, the integrator investigated other solutions and was brought in front of myself and Alliance, and ultimately it was determined that this passive DAS solution in its design was in no way going to provide the minimum level of signal that was required for this building. Sometimes there's stringent requirements like neg 95 dBm RSCP. Anyways, the takeaway here is that we were able to help circumvent this potentially flawed design with a passive DAS system and put in a CelFi QUATRA. And this was the CelFi QUATRA model that supported dual carriers. This is a Rogers and TELUS solution, and this was placed into a 6-story, just newly built construction building, and there was success. So another use case, this happens to be a government building, but the use case here identifies that this building had very strong construction. Interior concrete walls prevailed in this building, so it made for signal attenuation to be rampant, and also inhibited the ability to run a thick coax in this building. We needed a lot of internal antennas, so QUATRA was able to address this situation with delivering its coverage units, and it was using existing Ethernet, so no new holes had to be drilled, and it was a very welcome solution, only because of the fact that the existing Ethernet was able to be used in this premises. Remember that existing Ethernet can be used, just it can't go through anything active like a switch or a router. This is point-to-point Ethernet. Another use case was big box retail. Big box retail, this particular chain, Canadian Tire, had metal roof, metal construction. So for obvious reasons, the signal inside was highly attenuated. So this install was with 8 NUs and 32 CUs. So a very big install, and this paved the way for us to pitch the solution for the rest of the retail stores that had potential coverage solutions. So this was a promoted solution in QUATRA from the corporate level. So I'd like to summarize everything for you as I end this webinar. The CelFi portfolio of smart signal boosters for Canada has the Pro, the Go, and the QUATRA, and very much the space in which they cover are all discrete with some overlap, but the CelFi Pro is available today It's for 15,000 square feet or less. Think wireless, think quick, think plug and play. Those solutions where a small gap filler is required, think the CelFi Pro. And remember the 100 dB of gain, and remember the wireless link and the very little acumen that's required, the very little aptitude that's needed to install this solution. CelFi Go is your direct competitor with other cabled amplifiers. It uses coax just like them, but it comes with the CelFi name and the CelFi performance, the network safe branding, and the very strong familiarity with the operators that have tested CelFi and understand the CelFi and its motto and its commitment to network safety. Remember, these systems cannot harm the network. You can place these systems, 500 meters from a tower, and they'll adjust automatically. Other
Paul,
solutions? Yes?
Sorry, I have a couple of questions, Paul. The first one, is it band selective?
Yes. Yeah. So remember, as I mentioned, that our solutions are channel specific, meaning they only boost the licensed spectrum in each band. That's all automatic. There's an algorithm to do that for you. But for someone who's asking if it's band selective, obviously they're savvy and they want more control. So yes, using a smartphone app on your phone over Bluetooth, you can control the band for the Pro and the Go. And with the Quatra, you would do this using the portal. And you can even do this remotely. And yeah, so it's band selective, and you can configure which particular bands that you want boosted if in the event that the automatic algorithm doesn't choose those bands for you. Good question.
I have one more question, sorry. Have any carriers that have deployed Quatra, sorry, I don't think I follow this, Robert, who's asked the question. Any carriers have deployed Quatra and using the portal?
Yes. Yeah. So good question. So what that means is, do the carriers have access to the portal? So in short, so the portal has every single system that gets installed hits the portal. If you're a carrier, I would say Mr. or Mrs. Carrier person, you have access to see all of the systems on your network. So if you're carrier A and you're of the @carrier.com domain, you will be granted portal access, and that grants you access and visibility to all the CelFi systems that install on your network. And this is a huge selling point. Imagine the carriers now have visibility to their systems, where they're at, where they are on a street level, as a waypoint. So yes, to answer that question, carriers do have access or can be given access for those that don't have it to see their systems on the portal. Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. That was all the questions I have right now. Thanks.
Okay. And to summarize Quatra, think 25,000 square feet, think all the way up to 250,000 square feet. Is there a limit of the ceiling? The limit is really defined by the threshold where a bigger, more incumbent big iron DAS solution can play and be just as cost effective or more cost effective. So Quatra is scalable. It doesn't have a limit. It can be installed in hundreds of thousands of square feet, but there's no real limit of where Quatra can get into. It's scalable. You add more coverage units to cover the necessary space. And remember that it does have this capability of even using a picocell as a donor. It takes macro off air, and that's what's primarily supported, but it's been designed with architecture to take a picocell as a donor. And remember, these are carrier-only discrete systems. These are not wideband solutions that indiscriminately boost the entire spectrum. Carriers like this because it only boosts their spectrum. Yes, Lisa.
Sorry, someone interrupted with a really good point, like shopping malls. Absolutely, shopping malls have the worst signal. They have nothing.
Right. So where, any solution, could be pitched to that, here's a CelFi solution with its brand name, commitment to network safety. It's our rapport with the operators in Canada for a number of years now. They're constant evolving with the portal and features being added, and ultimately network safe, and the bottom line performance too per square foot.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'll finish off Quatra saying that it's also MIMO. MIMO is a huge selling point. Many solutions have to double up hardware to support MIMO, and that's it. And I'd like to stop there, take more questions, and thank you everyone for joining us today on this webinar. Thank you.
I have a question, sorry, Paul, just to ask, you know, how can somebody get training so that they could go out and sell this to their customers?
Great question. So Nextivity has a CelFi University learning management system. It's built on the famous, very popular Litmus platform. So what I would suggest is contact your Alliance sales rep or your Alliance contact. And Alliance with Nextivity can register you on this system, and you'll be invited to complete a self-paced certification program that is very intuitive, can be completed at your own leisure, and answers majority of the questions to get someone started with our product and our solutions. And this exists for Quatra, Go, and Pro. So it's called CelFi University, and it's just a matter of requesting an invitation, and you'll get an invitation immediately.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I don't have any questions. I don't know if anyone wants to ask any, but I heard Charlie was going to interrupt, so go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, I just wanted to thank you for a great job of summarizing it. And to our guests in the audience today, I hope you can see why we're so excited about this product and why we feel this is, we try not to trivialize things or, get too excited, but this truly is a revolutionary product with what it enables, it opens the door to so many of our end users and our mutual customers to get the coverage that they haven't been able to figure out how to get up to now. So this is really, it's a product that works. It's a proven product. Our Alliance sales team is well versed with the product. They've all been through the training. So please, if you need more information, if you've got some more questions, reach out to your Alliance account manager. We'd be delighted to work with you and let you begin to enjoy the benefits that this can bring you and your customers.
And with just one more reminder, I did record the webinar, so I will share this as a video file, a link on YouTube actually for people, and there will be an automatic email following up to everybody. And if you would like a copy of the presentation and anything else regarding Nextivity, just send us a note and we'll get you in touch with the right person.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. And if you need anything, just send us a note. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Bye.